Right, hello there everyone, welcome back to James Redmond TV and welcome to another Redmond Roundup, the show where you guys like to give me a load of shit. I'm only joking with you, you're dead lovely, and yeah mate, if you enjoyed these videos and gain any sort of entertainment value out of them, feel free to smash a like. If you have the opposing feeling and don't like the videos, then smash a dislike and let me know in the comments down below why you didn't like the video. Now, a lot of people on James Redmond TV aren't too happy with Mr. James Redmondinho himself because, as you guys know, I pride myself on it because if I was a YouTuber who came on camera and said what the majority opinion always said, I don't think that makes me a great YouTuber. Now, unless I believed what the majority said, then maybe it's different because I'm still being somewhat truthful. The point that I'm making is I come on here, give my honest point of views. It might be a bit too honest, if that's a thing for certain people sometimes, or they might not agree with the opinion. But due to this approach, I have been getting a lot more slander, specifically on my opinions on Nunez. So this is the plan. This is the last video. I want to talk about Nunez, emphasise my feelings towards Nunez, and also make clear that going forward, I want to do nothing but support that beautiful Uruguayan striker, that whether or not he is a successful player at Liverpool, I will be there in the stands. Nunez, Nunez, Nunez. I'll come out after the games that he's played really well and be like, wow, that's much better. And then maybe we get to a video where I have to apologise to Nunez, which I will do. If he proves me wrong, if he becomes a striker who is good enough to win us league titles and Champions Leagues, then fair enough. But the reason why I didn't want him in the first place was because I didn't think he was going to be good enough to get us to that stature, especially when I've seen Fernando Torres, Luis Suarez, Daniel Sturridge, this, that and the other. And these players couldn't even win us trophies, yet we're expecting Darwin Nunez to win us trophies. Now, I'm not going to get into my argument straight away because there's actually comments that you guys have left to defend Nunez and we're going to read them. So the first comment I would like to read out, because we've been getting a lot of similar comments to this recently, is from Jason Wilson, a YouTube comment where he says, James, my guy, so I assume he's coming with a nice calm approach. You say it's constructive criticism, but you spent half the video crapping on Nunez. I'm sorry, but you're not doing yourself any favours here against those who think you're a hater. So Jason Wilson believes that I'm not doing myself any favours for a genuine opinion that I have had and have had since before Nunez joined. So instead of me responding to you right now, I'll tell you the response that I gave Jason because I actually replied to this comment. I said, how did I crap on him? Now, this is from the video when we signed Gakpo, and I made that video kind of like a Gakpo reaction and an Aston Villa game reaction. I don't think Nunez played well in the Aston Villa game. I don't think he deserved man of the match. I think it was better than previous performances, but still nothing to suggest that he's going to be the main man to start week in, week out for Liverpool and do really, really well. At least I haven't seen it. But anyway, I responded to this comment saying, how did I crap on him? By saying he doesn't have a great first touch, impressive dribbling, inconsistent finishing. None of what I listed in the video was personal, but more aimed at his footballing attributes. Therefore, I'd lean more towards that being classed as constructive, opposed to crap talk or smack talk or whatever you want to refer it to as, Jason. Final thing I said, if I can talk about how much I rate a player who plays for my club, why can't I do the same for someone who I don't rate as much? Bear in mind, I've not said Nunez is the worst player in the world. I've not said he's the worst player we've ever signed. All I've said is I don't think he's good enough to win us league titles and Champions Leagues, which when you spend £85 million on a striker, is the premise and hopefully the goal to go and win the Premier League or the Champions League. I don't think he's good enough to do that. That's the point I've made clear ever since. And when I see him in a game, just hit the ball and run, and people say like, oh, but he gets in dangerous positions. But these are the exact same people who didn't want Timo Werner, or when they seen Timo Werner at Chelsea, didn't want any part. Oh, thank God we never got Timo Werner. You remember the conversations. And if you're going to sit there and say Werner and Nunez aren't similar, I'd suggest Werner's better. But if you're going to say they're not similar, that's ludicrous to me, because they both run in behind, they both find space, and they're both inconsistent finishers. I also emphasised that he's not a great dribbler, and I also emphasised he hasn't got a great first touch. So yes, he gets goals, and yes, that is the only argument that people seem to bring to the table, but Bobby Firmino can get stats. Bobby Firmino was getting these numbers for years. Bobby Firmino this year has probably got same, if not more, goals than Darwin Nunez. So we never necessarily upgraded. Now, the argument you can then say is, James, but Nunez has got a couple of years, Jurgen Klopp can work on him. I believe in what Arsene Wenger said a couple of years ago. I believe once you're 14 or 15, your technical ability can only go so far. This is the man who brought the technical side of the game into English football and is the only manager to have used that very same system and remain undefeated in the Premier League. He knows a thing or two about football. Respect Arsene Wenger's opinion if you're not going to respect mine. I don't think Nunez significantly, no matter how good Jurgen Klopp is, improves his first touches. Guess what? It's not an Xbox. It's not Jurgen Klopp controlling Nunez. It's Nunez who simply just doesn't have a first touch. The same way that Salah's touch can be quite inconsistent, much better than Nunez, but still good enough to be starting for us. And Salah's got so much more than Nunez to why he starts for us as well. Whereas Nunez seems to me a man who's going to run in behind, a man who's going to cause chaos, but there's loads of players that can do that. And again, I don't think that type of player rises you to the top to end up winning Premier Leagues and Champions Leagues. Now, is Nunez good enough for a top 4 Premier League team? Probably. I think he could go to Spurs and score goals. I think he could go to Arsenal and score goals. And what I mean by, because he can score goals at us, the point is that them goals are going to mean more at those clubs because the expectations is lower. Usually Arsenal are just hoping to get top 4. Even this season, they're 8 points clear, and Arsenal fans are still being shitbags. And that's because they have those lower expectations based on recent history, whereas Liverpool have gone ahead toe-to-toe with Manchester City season in, season out, 90-plus points every single season. Record-breaking points tallies, by the way, for a team who never won the Premier League in those exact seasons, and now we're saying Nunez is the man to get us to 95 points, 96 points, 97 points. The only point I make is that, okay then, you can have Nunez, but you can't want all the rest of it. Because Nunez and those type of players are not the ones who are going to win you league titles. And again, I could be wrong. But how is that hate? How is that hating on the lad or crapping on the lad? It's pure constructive. I've not said anything about the way he looks because he's a gorgeous man. I've not said anything about the way he's built because he's built like a brick shithouse. I've not said anything about his passion on the pitch because he shows it every fucking minute of the game. But I have said his decision making is off. I have said his dribbling is below par. I have said his finishing is this, that and the other. That's constructive, that is not hate. So please, people, when you're going to say, James, you're wrong, or James, you don't know football, that's fine. That's boss. Oh my God, I love that. Don't try and accuse me of hating on someone. It's not my style. I don't abuse people online. And it's funny, people be like, oh, James, you're a prick because you said this about news. Like, you just called me a prick. I never even called him a prick. I was being nice. I'm just saying my opinion. And again, if I can talk about, oh, I really rate Gakpo and I like Gakpo, why in the name of Sweet Nancy Francis is that okay? But then I can't say what I don't like about Darwin Nunez. That just makes no sense to me. Let me know what you think in the comments down below. But guys, I really want to enforce, don't just shut down the minority opinion. I mean, if they're just saying Nunez is shit and not backing it up, fair enough. But I come on here and say why I think Nunez is shit. And people say things like, James, you're fueling the neutrals. Or, James, you're just trying to get views. It's like, fuck. I am known for being positive. My most viewed videos, get on this. Not on this channel, because the most viewed video on this channel is the Aston Villa game where we lost 7-2. But in general, my most viewed video of all time comes off the back of a win. All of the viral clips you might see on TikTok of me, they come off wins because I'm very happy when we win and when we're doing well. And I'll say what I see. And when Mane joined, before Mane joined, I knew he was a great player. I wanted Mane. Before Salah joined, at that point, which I believe we were also competing for like top 4 or just slowly trying to reach that league title, Salah was the next piece of the jigsaw. So I understood that transfer massively. But then when you fast forward to a team like Liverpool who won the Premier League in 2020, then haven't won it since, you'd like to hope we're back on the journey to going back there. I didn't see Nunez as the piece of the puzzle to take us to that next step. So the only reason why I'm frustrated is because I know narratives are created online to where it's like, oh, but James Redmond said this about Nunez. Yeah, I said all the things that most people agree with. I said the thing about his first touch. I said the thing about his dribbling. The only thing people come back to me with is he's a threat, which really does remind me of Timo Werner. Not a bad thing, because I actually didn't mind Timo Werner at Chelsea. He was a good player. And people talk about, but Nunez has got 9 goals. Werner finished top goal scorer for Chelsea that season, and I guarantee any Liverpool fan who watched Timo Werner, although he's the top scorer for their football club, still wouldn't have said I wanted him, or still wouldn't have said he's the man for us. But because Nunez is a few years younger and he's got Jurgen Klopp as manager, he's guaranteed to become world class, one of the best in the world. Nunez has actually done good, but in comparison to the expectations that people have set, I have to then do these videos and respond. Yes, 9 goals or 10 goals, whatever he's got is great. But in comparison to the Haaland levels that you were all setting him at the beginning of the season, is a completely different story. So, again, Love Nunez as a player, as a person, not as much as a player. Let's read the next comment, which is from Mr. Beans. He says, I disagree on the Nunez take. He lacks composure. I agree. But that comes over time. I don't know if it does. I just don't. I mean, maybe you're right. Maybe the pressure that he's, got at being a Liverpool player takes some time to get used to. Maybe that's actually a really good point. I understand he cost 80 mil, but some players just need that extra time. Comparing him to Karius, Jesus Christ. The point that I made about Karius was that Karius, people like to use the argument, Jurgen Klopp never gets it wrong. Karius was used as an example, except Nunez is a much bigger example in that he's 80 million and Karius was 4 million, so be careful, Mr. Beans. I weren't saying he was like Karius level. But I just don't want it to get to the point where everyone overhypes Nunez, everyone overrates Nunez. Nunez continues to miss chances in big games, and then it's death threats, and then it's horrible DMs and this, that. And the same way I would never do that now, by the way, I don't want brownie points, the same way I wouldn't do that now is the exact same way I wouldn't do that if he missed the most open of goals in the Champions League final against Real Madrid, and it was 0-0 in the last minute. I'd be devoed, like I was when Karius fucked it up. But I wouldn't do all that stuff because it's not my style. And if you're going to say I'm a horrible person because I'm coming on here and being honest about football and point of views, I think you just need to sort your life out, to be dead honest with you. But that's the way it is though, guys. Let me know what you think in the comments down below. I'm just not a big fan of Nunez right now. I'm very much open to being proven wrong. He's actually done better than what I thought he was going to. But the only reason why I don't get onto that topic of conversation is because people are like, but James, you called him shit, you called him this. Yeah, you're right, I don't think he's that great. But again, it's not impersonal. That's going to be the end on the Nunez conversations because I've spent 12 minutes of this video on it. And I'd like to leave it there. Now that you have my whole argument, go in the comments down below. Let me know if you agree or disagree. And even to what Mr. Beans was saying about like composure that he lacks, understands that he cost 80 mil. I get it. Like, maybe the composure will come over time. But the first touch probably won't. I'm just letting you know is that I've very rarely seen a player go from 21 years of age to 29 and have a much better touch at 29 than what they had at 21. I don't see it, but that's just the way it is. Anyway, guys, what I want to round up this video with is all the Enzo Fernandez and Jude Bellingham talk is the #1 priority for the majority of Liverpool fans. And then you've got Enzo Fernandez, who has been the new kid on the block, just won the World Cup, won the Young Player of the tournament, and had a really, really good one at that. That being said, he's being linked with us and Manchester United. Bellingham being linked with us and every big club in Europe. Let me know down below, who do you want to sign? Because I was actually talking to Mario and I said, listen, whether, due to the bigger name, he comes from the media stuff and whatever, Enzo Fernandez is great at his own things. In fact, there's things that Enzo would bring to our team that Jude simply couldn't. The way I compared it was Enzo Fernandez is, again, not on the level, but he's more Iniesta, Xavi type player. He looks for the passes. When he shoots from long range, it's always with precision. It's always with a little curl or a spin. Whereas Jude Bellingham, he's more Frank Lampard, Steven Gerrard, and it's quite ironic with the fact that one comes from a similar culture to Xavi and Iniesta, and then you've got Bellingham, who's English, as well as Gerrard and Lampard. And that's why I'm sitting there thinking, you know what? Gerrard and Lampard were great at slicing the ball through the midfield, shooting from long range, winning the games by themselves, and maybe Jude Bellingham could bring that as well. It's going to be harder with the systems that are now in football in comparison to back in the day, but he can still bring that value. But again, he's not as good as passing as Enzo Fernandez. He's not as good as dribbling as Enzo Fernandez. His accuracy of shots and passes isn't quite Enzo Fernandez. But that doesn't mean Enzo's a better player. It just means Enzo's better at things. Bellingham brings a lot more physicality. He's a much more taller. He has a lot more potential to be a much more well-rounded midfielder. A balanced midfielder who can defend, attack, pass, this, that. Bellingham's also young, so he's still... I don't think he's going to improve significantly technically, but there's obviously little tricks and skills that he could probably learn when he comes to the club. I want Jude Bellingham, but I wouldn't mind Enzo Fernandez. I'm happy with either or, and I'm very confident we're not going to get both, so I'd be intrigued to know what you all think in the comments down below. But anyway, guys, that's been today's Redmond Roundup. Probably caused a lot of upset, to be honest. And you know what as well? I actually hate how much I have to talk about it or respond to it. But yeah, this is just the game sometimes. You've got to go out there, explain your views. And again, I don't want to seem like that I'm hiding. And that's why I respond to your comments where you're putting a little bit of pressure on me and whatever, because I think it's important that we have open discussion. Now, if you have a good argument and you want to ask me about it, go for it in the comments down below. But anyway, guys, much love to you. Smash a like, all that stuff. Smash a dislike if you didn't enjoy it. On happy vibes, leaving the video. I will see you guys later. Peace out.